Hello. So in our group 12, our what we are talking to today is about the summary of loss functions of all 16 articles that that our colleagues went through. So before going into the articles and research articles, I would like to, like, I know you have very good sound knowledge about neural networks, but actually what is a loss function? So before talking about loss functions, we know in this deep neural network learnings, we have like some input values and set of input values, and we need to map it to the set of output values, and we trained data in order to do that. So but we can't get a perfect weights in the beginning. We need to calculate it to take it, like there are, because there are too many unknowns, like. So so this problem of learning, like casting as a search of optimization problem, like getting the least error, like, and get a possible set of accurate answer. So that's what we try to do. And it's like it's called, like, there are some gradient descent optimizations to update the weight parameters, and some back propagations of like error algorithms and things like that. So here, like, in the graph that I showed you, so in here what we try to do is minimize the error. So like we need to that gradient, like in a gradient descent phase, we try to like minimize the error. So that's what we try to do. Like there are some gradient descent algorithms and things like that. So what is this loss function and loss? So so in simply in a neural network, as explained, we try to minimize the error. So such as like so the loss function is that value, calculate the how to minimize that loss. So in a simple way, we can say this loss function reduces all the various, like good and bad aspects of possible complex system down to a single number, like a scalar value, which allow our values to be ranked and compared, something like this. Okay, so I think you got an idea about this loss, what is loss function. So then we will go like into the research article. So one of the first research article that I went through is diving deep into this the rectifiers, like, and they talk how they surpass the human level performance on some classifications. So actually, so what is a rectified linear unit? So that's uh, it's a kind of an activation function. So like I think our like colleagues did a very great presentation on that, how, what are the activation functions and things like that, what is an activation function and how it determines things like that, the type of the activation functions, things like that, and the definition of the rectified linear function, and things like that. But in a normal, like rectified linear function, coefficient of a negative part is constant, like, but you get a constant value. But in the parametric rectifier linear units, as you can see, it's not a constant, it adaptively learns. So in this research article, they have explained how that additional parameters help to increase the model accuracy and things like that, because they use that cost function to reduce the accuracy and things like that. And the optimization they did to use the back propagation, this is the gradient, like how they calculate with other layers, and this momentum things, like I will come to that in the next article. It's like in Adam, like group 14, I think, did a great presentation on that. And this SDG without momentum is like stochastic gradient descent without the momentum. So you can see there's a lot of spikes, not smooth. And with the SDG, with momentum, it's very smooth. So in here, adapting the momentum method when updating, so U is the momentum and E is the learning rate, and that step is 0.25 at the initial state, and how they calculate that, things like that. Okay, so then we will go to the second article, like method of stochastic optimization. So the name Adam is came through, like it's derived from adaptive moment estimation. This is the simply the algorithm. So there are some advantages, like this algorithm I've studied, is like a first order gradient based optimization, like stochastic objective function, and so this is like computational efficient. There are some few advantages, but so today my thing is not to talk about those things, like this how this Adams update rules work. So this step size thing, like value, the step size is the value that, like as step size, as in the first slide, it's that step that we go in a one particular step, like in that in the graph. So it's the value that we use to update the parameters simply, and it depends in this Adams thing. I think it depends on the mean and the variation of the parameters. And there are like step size has two upper bounds here, it has like in the first case, the gradient has been like a zero many times step, but not occur once. Like effective step size is when it is higher, and in the second case, like it's less spare cases, effective step size is lower. It's like that. And in this article, the default values by the author was that delta beta 1 means the biased, it's biased 1 is 0.9, biased 2 is 0.999, and that step size is 0.001, and learning rate is 10 to the power negative 8. And in this initiation of this bias correctness, because that should be, there may be a positive or negative bias, so you need to be corrected on the, it's focus in the initial stage, like first momentum estimate, that's how it does. And in the initial step, we take those values are as almost zero, because it's the first one, and it's heavily biased to the 1 minus beta on the initial algorithm. So this is like correcting the moving average by the removing the bias of the moving average. So that's about the articles that I went through, and I would like to invite Gayal to do his presentation. Gayal.
Thank you, Ashmi. So this is the one of the research article that I have read. It is about the gradient-based learning applies to document recognition. So I don't like to get deep into what they have doing in this research paper, because one of our colleague team has already done a perfect job presenting about this research article. So as Hashmi mentioned earlier, the overall system is trying to minimize an overall loss function, which measures the probability of an erroneous answer. So one of the simplest output loss functions that can be used is the maximum likelihood estimation criterion, which is in this research paper is equivalent to the minimum mean squared error. So this criterion for set of training samples is simply where here this YDP is the output of the DP in the DP RBF unit, that is the one of the correspond to the correct class of the input pattern ZP. While this cost function is appropriate for most cases, it lacks two important properties. These are the two important properties that it has. So in the solution, all the RBF parameter vectors are equal and the state of F6 is constant and equal to a parameter vector. In this case, the network happily ignores the input and all the RBF outputs are equal to zero. This collapsing phenomenon does not occur if the RBF weights are not allowed to adapt. And in the second case, such a comparison cannot be obtained by using a more discriminative training criteria. The maximum posterior or the MAP, which is commonly known criterion, similar to maximum mutual information criteria sometimes used to train HMMs. It corresponds to maximizing the posterior probability of the correct class or minimizing the algorithm of the probability of the correct class. Given that the input image can come from one of the classes or from background rubbish class label. In terms of penalties, it means that in addition to pushing down penalty of correct class like the MSC criterion, this criterion also pulls up penalties of the incorrect class. So this is the input loss function that they have used finally. The negative of the second term plays a competitive fraud. It is necessarily smaller than or at least equal to the first term. Therefore, this loss function is positive. The constant j is positive and prevents the penalties of classes that are already very large from being pushed further. The positive probability of this rubbish class label would be the ratio of e to the power minus this one and the sigma function. This discriminative criterion prevents the previously mentioned collapsing effect when the RBF parameters are learned because it keeps the RBF centers apart from each other. And also, the backpropagation plays a major role in the grading of the loss function. It can be in this research paper, they use the GTN to compute the backpropagation. The GTN architecture is shown in this figure. The the YTB transformer takes the interpretation graph and the desired label sequence as input. It extracts the interpretation graph, those parts that contain the correct or the desired label sequence. Its output graph is called constraint interpretation graph and contains all the parts that correspond to the correct label sequence. The constraint interpretation graph is then sent to the White-Bit transformer, which is produce a graph with a single path. This path is the correct path with the lowest penalty. Finally, the path scorer transform takes and simply compute the simulated penalty by adding up the penalties along the path. The output of this GTN is the loss function for the pattern described in this paper. Next is the paper that I read was the stack denoising autoencoders, which is learning a useful representation in a deep learning network with the local denoising criteria. Actually, this paper doesn't mention that much lot like in the previous paper about the loss function. So this is the loss function that they have used in this research paper. The common choices for this Pxz and associated loss function Lxz include both for real values of x and also the binary x values. This equation one is the squared error objective found in most traditional autoencoders. In this setting, due to Gaussian interpretation, it is more natural not to use the Gaussian nonlinearity in this decoder. So to talk about the more papers, I would like to invite Silvandi to carry out this presentation.
Thank you, Laksara. So I will go with the paper which is numbered as 14. So it is image style transfer using convolutional neural networks. So in this paper, they have detailed how the generic feature representations learned by high-performing convolutional neural networks can be used to independently process and manipulate the content and the style of natural images. For that, they have used two deep image representations. They are content representation and style representation. In those representations, they have used loss functions, and more details are discussed on the next slide. So this first equation denotes the square error loss function between two feature representations. So here lowercase p and x have got original image and the image that is generated, and this FL and PL are their respective feature representations in layer L. So this second equation denotes the derivative of loss function with respect to the activation in layer L, equals from which the gradient with respect to the image, which can be computed using standard error backpropagation. So here is the style representation. The lowercase a and xb denotes uh, original image and the image that is generated, and these gl and al are their respective style representation in layer L. So the contribution of layer L to the total loss is denoted by el. So then the total loss style representation is denoted by L style. So here these WL are weighting factors of the contribution of each layer to the total loss uh, L style. So here is the representation of total loss function. So you can see it is a linear combination between content and style loss. It is a derivative with respect to the pixel values can be computed using error backpropagation. So this gradient is used to iteratively update the image until it simultaneously matches the style features of style image and the content features of content image. When synthesizing an image that combines the content of one image with the style of another, there usually does not exist an image that perfectly matches both constraints at the same time. So, however, in this research paper, here loss functions helps to minimize during image synthesis is a linear combination between the loss functions for content and style respectively. So they have smoothly regulated the emphasis on either reconstructing the content or the style image. So here onwards, to continue with the presentation, I will invite Sonali.
Thank you, Sevandi. The next paper is Dropout as a Bayesian Approximation Representation Model Uncertainty in Deep Learning. Deep learning tools have gained 3 meters in applied machine learning. In this paper, they develop a new theoretical framework casting dropout training in deep neural networks as approximate Bayesian inference in deep Gaussian process. They show that a neural network with arbitrary depth and non-linearities with dropout applied before every weights layer is mathematically equivalent to an approximation to the probabilistic deep Gaussian process. They have represented a Gaussian process and a variational inference as well as the main derivation for dropout and its variations. According to this equation, y hat be the output of a neural network model with L layers and a loss function E, such as softmax loss or Euclidean loss, that means square loss. They denote by Wi the neural network's weight matrices of dimensions ki to ki minus 1 and bi the bias vectors of dimension ki for each layer, and I goes from 1 to L. They denote by y the observed output corresponding to input xi for I goes from 1 to n data points, and the input and output sets as x and y. During neural network optimization, a regularized regularization term is often added. We often use they often use L2 regularization weighted by some weight tiller lambda, resulting in minimization objective. So this is the next paper. In this paper, they detail the principle that drove the implementation of PyTorch and how they are reflected in its architecture. The neural networks themselves evolved rapidly from simple sequences of feed-forward layers into incredibly varied numerical program often composed of many loops and recursive functions. This paper says any new potential neural network architecture can be easily implemented with PyTorch, and neural network models are usually represented as classes that compose individual layers. This implementation shows how custom layer used as a building block for simple neural network. This facilitates the experimentation of new training techniques to implement the very popular generative adversarial network. One needs to specify two separate models, the generator and the discriminator, and two loss functions that depend on the both models at the same time. In this implementation, there are two classes, one for linear layer and other for full basic model, and both define forward functions for the neural network separately. This shows the simplified training of a generative adversarial network. Since PyTorch programs execute eagerly, all the features of Python are available throughout the whole design process. More importantly, intermediate computations can be observed to understand how a model works and whether its results are correct. They create discriminator using create discriminator function. The loss function is used in the case to calculate the real error, fake error, and general error using that discriminator and real and fake labels. So these are the references we have used. And this is the end of our presentation. Thank you.